G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Yeah, how you going? I'm going to do a bit of an autumn tour of the benches, show you how things are going here in the halfway house for Aussie Bonsai Bloke, and I'll take you for a look around.
And this
Cheers.
is the Aussie map, boy.
First, I reckon I'll take you over here in the sort of the nursery stock area. Here's the olive that I carved out in the previous video. It's going alright. Some Australian natives here which I'm going to grow up to become big trees one day. Get a bit of a base on them. Here's some melaleucas that I'm trying soaking in water, because when I just dig them up and put them in soil they seem to die pretty quick, so I'm not sure how it's going to work. It looks like there's some swelling buds here, but it's hard to tell. Not sure, time will tell. It's an olive that I collected a couple of weeks ago. It's got a bit of a base in there and I'll have to do a bit of carving, create a bit of interest in that bit, but there's an olive. What else we got? We got a bougainvillea which needs a bit of weeding. There's the flowers on it. Bougainvillea. Pretty flowers. There's one of our dogs, Max. We've got a winter coat for him now because it's getting pretty chilly. He's loving that. Yeah, if I can pull away some of this rubbish in here, there's a bit of old bark and some roots and some dead wood. So it'll be interesting to see what we can make of that one. That's the bogey. Here's an old rose oak which I cut down, hard cut. You can see the full-on bark that it gets. I cut it down hard and I thought it was dead, but then I even stopped watering it actually. But then after I stopped watering it, about 2 months later, I noticed some shoots coming out. So it's got some shoots coming outside, so I'll grow one of these as a new leader. And then once that gets nice bark on it, plus then you'll have good taper too. It'll get nice bark on it and then hopefully turn it into something in future. What else have we got? We got this is the Maria or orange jessamine that I worked on in a previous video. Collected that from the neighbours a couple of years ago. It's growing really well, really healthy. Just an old plum down there. What else do we got here? Got a pepper tree. This pepper tree here, I'll just see if I can spin it around here. I think the front's over here. As you can see, it's all dead on one side and hollow. Get rid of some weeds out the way. It's got a bit of branching and stuff. It's a feral kid. Yeah, so it might make a good pepper tree one day. Then we got the other olive that I carved out in a previous video. It's got all new shoots on all of the branches that I left on, so I reckon that one will be fine. Seems to be growing really well now. Hasn't looked back since the carving work. Another couple of olive stumps here. Got a red gum. I think it's a red gum here. Either that or a bush. No, red gum I think. And it's getting a bit of a base now, considering it was only a twig when it was in this pot at the start of the year. Some lemon trees, but I'm not sure what they're going to make. And I've got a swamp cypress here. And it's getting a bit of a base on it now. I've had it in a tub of water. Yeah, I've had it in a tub of water. It's got a bit of a base starting. A little bit of variation in the trunk there. Change of angles. I think this direction it changes a bit too. Got another branch coming outside, so anyway, I'll see how that one goes. Got an ash tree here. Not much else of note. There's a well, I'm not quite sure what that one's called, but I think it's some sort of a daisy bush or something. Gets nice purple flowers. Got nice bark on the trunk. So one day I'll put that in a pot. I think this is an Atlantic cedar, some sort of a cedar. Trident maple I dug out. This one here is a peach tree. It's going to be hard to tell the trunk in there, but there's a bit of a trunk in there. I've actually done a bit of carving work to that one. This is a elm that I dug out from the old house a while ago. It's got shoots on it now, which is a bit weird because it's the wrong time of year for it. Mango trees I grew from seed here. What else we got? Yeah, just some more bits and pieces. Lemon, you might remember the lemon tree that I dug up. Well, it's shooting away nicely now. It's got a nice good trunk to it, I think. I was hoping for a nice shoot to come out here, but so far it hasn't. And then I've got a prunus here, which needs a lot of carving done this next year. The prunus. I'll need to get in here and weed, obviously. And then I'll come wander over here to me benches. Got this lemon tree here which I collected a couple of years ago, but it's got an okay base. But I left it too close to this fire that we got here, and all these branches all burnt off. But it's reshooting now, so that's good. Chinese elm back there. Not much of a tree. Got this old quince in the cooking pot here, but same thing. That all got burnt in the fire that I had. Too close to the fire. Bit silly of me. A Chinese elm that I got here. I'm not sure which way the front is, but it's that one. I think I got that as a Mitre 10 stock about 5 years ago, so you can go from a straight whip to that in about 5 years from something like Mitre 10 or Big W. Well, not Big W, Bunnings I mean. And this is an olive that I collected 2 years ago from the ground. And once I get all those pads develop out here, yeah, once I get these pads to fill in around the place, it'll look pretty good, I reckon. Got nice clump of moss on there. Yeah, here's a ficus which I've been a bit slack on. It's got a lot of cut-in wire, but here's what it is. Behind that, I've got the bottle brush. I did a bit of work on that lately. Gave it a bit of carving on the back. All this back died, so I gave it some carving. And the front will be around this side somewhere. So we'll have this as a first branch. I was hoping a bud would come out here for a branch, but this is going to be probably second branch. And then I'll develop a canopy from this one. I didn't do a video on that one when I did it because, to be honest, there wasn't a real lot of work done to it. It's an olive that I carved out and it's just shooting away. Here's another one I collected years ago with me daughter when she was only 2 years old. Stopped on the side of the road and collected this olive here. Yeah, so this is my big olive that I got maybe 7 years ago from a bonsai show as just a trunk. That's growing pretty good now. It's filling in well. Olive stump that I got from my brother's house. Once I develop all the pads on that, it will look pretty good. It's got a nice base to it, and done a bit of carving. And here's an old stump. On the side of the road one day I seen a big burn pile of olives, and because they're a bit of a toxic weed here, so seen a few olives on a burn pile, so I pulled up and had a look and found this stump with the live vein up the side of the stump. Did a bit of carving on the stump, and even though the roots were allowed to dry out, it looks like it survived alright. This is probably nearly 3 years since I collected that from the side of the road. Here's another bottle brush, done a little bit of carving on that one also. There's another bottle brush. Here's another olive that I've done some work on, the sheep-eaten olive. So as you can see, it's got really nice new healthy growth on it, looking pretty good. It's done all that work on its own. This is one of my favourite ones here. I worked on that one from scratch. It was just a taperless trunk, and I cut the leader down. Cut the big fat leader down here, from the top down to here. Just cut it straight down. Grew some branches out, a couple of metres long, to fatten them up, then cut them back. And then developed all the twigging and ramification that you see on it, so pretty proud of that little tree. It's looking pretty good. This is a Turkish oak that I got from a friend as a fairly small plant. Chucked it in the ground for about 4 years, then dug it up, looking pretty good. Here's an olive that I got from Bonsai Show, carved it out. She's an old one, probably 50 plus years old, but it's always struggled in its growth a bit. It's only got a couple of tiny live veins on it, one there, one down here, so that one struggles a bit. This is another Mitre 10 Chinese elm whip that I got, probably not much bigger than that, probably 7 years ago. Needs a good trim. The tree's normally in there somewhere, so it needs a good trim, but I'll do that soon in a future video. Hasn't been overly vigorous this year. I guess a bit of a slanting style olive. It's not that good a tree, as you can see in here. The first branch is nearly as thick as the trunk and the leader. But overall, looks like an okay tree. Got another little tree in the back here. Another olive. I'm not sure where I got that one, I can't remember. This olive here, oops, sorry bud, I'm tripping over the dogs. Hanging around my feet. Yeah, so this one here I found on the side of the road probably 4 years ago. Dug it out with a screwdriver of all things. Didn't have anything in the car to dig it, so got a screwdriver out, and about half an hour later popped out the ground with a bit of manipulation, and it's looking pretty good. I cut down, it had like a clump of different branches, so I've just cut them down to different heights and stuff to make it interesting, and done a little bit of carving around the place. It's got some nice old bark, big fat base. But I think overall it's starting to look like a nice tree. In a few years, hopefully look pretty good. This year it hasn't really grown much. In fact, even some of the branches have died back a little bit. Sort of die back, reshoot, die back. So, not sure what the goal is with that. But overall it's okay. I think it's got some new shoots on it again. So I'm not sure what its problem is, but I think it's alright. Got a ficus back there. Here's one of my junipers that I did some work on. It almost needs another trim now. Another video, but that one's going alright. I think I've had that for about 6 years. Oh, there's an olive that I pulled out the ground when I was fishing one day. I found it and ripped it out the ground. Yeah, probably five-ish years ago. It's going alright. This is a Japanese red pine that I worked on. Not sure what I plan on doing with it, but I worked on it, and when I did work on it, if you've watched the video, I was hoping that it would, because I did it fairly late, I was hoping that it would set some new buds for next year, and it looks like it has. Some buds have even tried to sprout a bit, like this one. But generally, you know, there's some good healthy looking buds in there, which is good. So next year those buds will shoot out nice and strong. All of these shoots have got buds sitting in them. Yeah, which is really good. So that worked. So hopefully it'll start to ramify a bit this next year. Still a fairly taperless trunk, but that's alright. Is Taya being crazy?
The Aussie Bonsai Bloke here.
This one here, this one's an olive that I collected. Did I collect? No, I think I bought it about four-ish years ago from the bonsai club for 20 odd bucks, and I've developed all the branches on it. It was just a stump. Yeah, it's grown alright. Then we got another one that I bought only 2 years ago, I reckon, and all that's developed in 2 years. So this one's been a really vigorous plant. Developed nearly all its canopy already. Nice fat branches on the first few main branches, which is good, makes it look more believable. But that one literally is developed in the first few years. This one's a pomegranate I collected from the garden. I planted it as a small plant, a bit thicker than that, and watched it grow for 4 or 5 years in the garden, ripped it out, and it's had one initial styling. Once it loses its leaves, I'll give it another one. This is an olive I collected in a sheep yard. Sheep eating olive. Needs a fair bit more work, but this is if you ever remember the quick easy repot video I did where I smashed the pot up. This is the ash tree I had in that. It's gone dormant now for the winter, but still all good. Got a fair bit of branching on it, slowly developing. Because we've had such a mild autumn, in fact hot autumn, it's even thought about reshooting again, but it's very weak yellowy growth, so I think most of that's going to die off and then it'll go to sleep anyway. This is I think from the sheep yard again, this olive. Doesn't look much from here, but I reckon in time, once this all develops out here, you have all your individual pads, lots of different trunks and stuff in here. Another pad out here on a trunk. I've got this tape here because I broke that branch, but put some tape on it, and as you can see, it's got all new shoots coming out, so that'll be fine. Yeah, that one was sticking out here, so I pulled it over that way with a bit of wire and broke it, but seems good. And I think, well, yeah, I think once that all develops, it'll be good. A good bonsai, probably more like your pinching style bonsai. This is the bottle brush, Australian native. As you can see, since it was last worked on, it's really healthy, got lots of new growth. If you can remember how hard I cut it back to what it looks like now, it's really healthy. Still looking pretty good. Got beautiful bark on this one. Here's an air layer layer from the mulberry tree. That one's pretty ugly. This one back here might become something in time. It's a 50-year-old mulberry that I had at my parents' house, and we used to eat the mulberries off it as kids, so I wanted to take a piece of the mulberry with me. Remember old times. This one here is a Wisteria, and I got this one from the neighbour's house in their foundations because it was making a mess of their foundations. So they wanted me to dig it out for them, so I did. And as you can see, it's got a rotten branch, rotten trunk there, some branching out to the side. I collected this with almost no roots, and it's been allowed to grow for this whole season. It's probably a year since collection. It's been allowed to grow the whole time, uninterrupted, untrimmed. And as you can see, it's put on a hell of a lot of growth. It's growing pretty well. Yeah, so I'm not sure where the front's going to be, but as you can see, there's a lot of rotten wood in here. I think that's going to be all rotten in there. It's a dead trunk here. But there's live branches where there needs to be live branches, so hopefully I'll see what I can make out of that one in the future. I think that one could end up being quite a good tree. It's a massive trunk. Oh, there's my hand. So it's 2 hands width, so it'll be at least 40 centimetres across. So it's going to be a good one. Here's a couple of me rosemary bushes I dug up, which don't look like they're going to take. This one's got a little bit of growth on it, but not too good. Here we got me red gum bonsai. It's got a bit of a funny growth habit. A lot of stuff dies back. There's another dead branch in there, but overall it's growing pretty well. Still looking fairly healthy. Hard to get there, but I've got a Crape Myrtle in the back here. The olive in the front here. This is a really old olive. I'm going to guess at least 40 years old, but it's just had a very hard life. Not growing very fast. This is my kids' bush tucker bush. I think it's a old man salt bush. I've got me Hawthorne here, which gets really nice flowers on it in, well, it's meant to be in spring, but here we are in autumn. Have a look at this. It doesn't really know what it's doing because it's such a hot autumn. It's flowering now. Pretty crazy, eh? Starting to shoot out and flower now because it doesn't know what's going on. It's sort of died down for winter, and then because winter never came, it's starting to reshoot, starting to flower. Here's a Crape Myrtle, lost nearly all its leaves. Hawthorne planting. It's my little Juniper. I've got to re-lime sulphur some of those bottom ones to make them nice and white, bone white, which I think look good on the junipers and the pines. Not the broadleaf. I like to use black on the broadleaf.
You're gonna go on the green thing. Okay?
So that's them. Then we got an olive tree here, which originally used to shoot really vigorously, but
And you have to go the same way.
the last couple of years it's been pretty slow, so I'm not sure whether it's on a slow decline to death or what's going on. Here's a little Chinese elm. There's the apple tree I did some carving on. So we got the apple tree, which is still quite healthy. Eventually it'll lose all its leaves for winter. Yeah, so here's the Crape Myrtle that I've got, which I really like. It's got the beautiful autumn colours on it. Really nice, smooth, motley sort of bark. Beautiful little tree. Yeah, one of my favourites, I reckon. Silver birch, starting to lose all its leaves. Pretty hard to see in there on the trunk, but yeah, it's growing alright. Got the pomegranate back here, almond tree. Another silver birch here, beautiful bark on it, as you can see. Another Crape Myrtle, beautiful autumn colours. Here's another heirloom from the parents' 50-year-old mulberry tree. This one here looks more like a tree, I reckon. It's going to end up a pretty good bonsai in the future. It's already looking pretty good. I think I'll put it into a bigger pot next year because I think it does struggle for moisture in the middle of summer. Here's the Juniper that I worked on in the previous video. As you can see, because I cut back all the branches in between needles, I didn't get a lot of browning off. There's a little bit, but not too bad. So that's why you got to take so much time to cut in between all the needles so you don't damage them too much. Here's another olive that I collected and did a bit of carving on. It's pretty healthy, growing pretty well. And here's a Chinese elm, which I've also got another video on, which I grew in the ground from a little whip myself. The whip would have been no bigger than maybe that. Put it in the ground for 4 or 5 years, pulled it up. It's been out the ground for 2 years now. And yeah, that's the end result. It's starting to look pretty good. And we got the Crape Myrtle back here. Another Crape Myrtle here. Hard to see. Just show you some of the bark on the Crape Myrtle too. This is what the Crape Myrtle does. All this old bark just peels off. And then you're left with this really smooth, beautiful bark, and it gets quite motley coloured when it gets older. This is still fairly immature, but get some really nice colours on it. This one here, well, it's in need of weeding. You can see that. But that's a Japanese maple. It's a coral bark maple. Got that out the wife's front garden. It's got a nice base on it. I'm already developing the branches pretty well. So hard to see in there, but it's developing. Yeah, so just a quick overview of all the benches, but cheers for watching. Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe. Ignore the kids and all their noise they've made, but that's kids for you. And thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you later. Cheers.